Hello and welcome to a short introduction to Syntalos Python support. This introduction aims to be extremely brief, so it will only show you how to use Python to control a sound module. For more extensive information, you can consult the Syntalos documentation. This tutorial also assumes that you are already familiar with the Syntalos user interface. First, we set up our experiment as usual by setting an experiment name and an export directory. Then we just add an audio source to generate some audio signals. Let's run the result and see what the audio source does on its own after we select Start Immediately as an option. As you could hear, it emits the selected sine wave immediately and doesn't stop. However, wouldn't it be nice if we could control this behavior and turn on or off the audio cue during an experiment whenever we like? For that, the Python module exists, which allows custom Python scripting within Syntalos. Let's add one to the project. Let's see what happens if we just run this project with the Python module added immediately. As you can see, the module fails and emits an error message asking you to actually write some code for it. So let's do that. The first thing we need to do is actually add some output ports to the Python module, because currently it only exists on its own and doesn't have any way to interact with other modules since it has no ports at all. For that, we click on the port editor button and add a new port. First, you select the data type that the output port will emit. In this case, we want to output control commands, but there's also a bunch of other options. Now we need to give this port an ID that we can reference in the Python code. In this case, we just type control out. And then we also need to give it a human readable name so a human can see what it's used for in the UI. As you can see, the port has been added to the module. Let's add some code. We start by just deleting the code that generates the error message that we had just seen. You may have noticed that the audio source module has a control port as an input port, and now our Python module has a control output port. We can connect the two as we would any other module ports. Thereby, the Python script can now send commands to the audio source. Your Python script interfaces with Syntalos via the Syntalos mlink module, which we import as syl. To get a reference to the output port that we just registered in the port editor, we just type syl get output port and then put the output port ID as a parameter. Let's write a small helper function that actually outputs a command on the output port. I call it send beep. This one constructs a control command, sets the control command to start, sets the duration of this command to 2 seconds, so 2000 milliseconds, and then submits it on the output port using allport.submit. This means that as soon as the audio source receives the control command, it will execute the start command for 2 seconds and then revert back to its previous state, which will be stopped. In the Python template, Syntalos already has defined a few functions for you: prepare, start, run, and stop. Prepare is executed before a run is actually run, and you want to request all your ports and set up everything that takes a while in this function. Start is run immediately when the experiment is started. Run is a function that is executed when the run is started and is running continuously. Stop is executed when the experiment run is stopped. Let's just send the command to beep when the experiment is started. For that, we need to make sure that the Start Playback Immediately button is not selected in our audio source settings, because otherwise it will be in the storage state already and the Python command does nothing. We got a 2 seconds beep and then silence. Let's change that by making Syntalos call the sendBeep function again after 2 seconds or 2000 milliseconds. For that, we use the schedule delayed call function, which will instruct the Syntalos system to just run the sendBeep function again after the selected time. Fascinatingly now, the beep doesn't stop. This is due to the way Syntalos works. You're instructing the function to be called every 2 seconds and also send a command for the beep to run for 2 seconds. Which means when the audio source stops its run for 2 seconds, there's already a new instruction which tells it to again run for 2 seconds and emit the sound again for 2 seconds. Therefore, we get a continuous beep. In order to change that, we need to call the function less often. Let's just call it every 5 seconds, which means that every 5 seconds we'll emit a command to run for 2 seconds. This has worked. We now created a small Syntalos program, which will just beep continuously once it is started forever. There's a few more things we can do on the program. For example, when we are in the sendBeep function, we can check if the experiment is still running, and if it's not running, we can just exit the function, not emitting the new start command. This is not a strict requirement, but it is nice to do so in order to make sure that the program is not emitting a start command right when it is being stopped. We can also remove a lot of the functions that are in the Python script right now and keep only the things that are needed, which is in this case only the start function and only the sendBeep function, as well as of course the function that gets us the port itself. And this concludes the short introduction to Syntalos Python scripting. Of course, there's still a bunch of stuff missing, like how you get input into your Python script. For that, there's more tutorials available, and this video tutorial is also available in written form on the Syntalos website. I hope you found this video insightful and it helped you with using Syntalos. Good luck with your experiments. Bye!